Hello everyone, welcome to Ekam Academy. So welcome back to the answer writing session. So as you know, we are continuing up with this particular environment series from GS paper 3. As already you know how we would be doing this particular answer writing, but again I'll explain you. Like we will be displaying a question and we will try to find out the key words in it and through which we are going to write the introduction. Here I'll be writing the introduction and you also start writing along with me on the basis of introduction which you would be knowing. If you want to cross check either the introduction is good or not, you just copy paste the introduction and drop it in the comment section below this video. We will be giving you valuable feedback. Okay, so we will try to scrutinize your answer. We will try to create some checks and balances that the answer approach which you are writing, is it right or not, and what all are the points which have to be included. I'll be letting you know through this particular answer writing series. So through this series, we just want to help students to start up their answer writing aspects, because many students have fear of answer writing. So for having or helping them as a helping hand from our side, we are holding the hands of the students through these particular videos and making them to start answer writing and making them master in this particular answer writing techniques. Clear? If you could see the question of the day, the question is a bit lengthy, but it's okay that we can follow this particular juncture as such. So if you could read the question, it is important to recognize the value of wildlife sanctuaries and national parks. So here if you could note wildlife sanctuaries and national parks, these are the keywords which are attached here. In preserving the biodiversity, supporting ecosystem services and maintaining the ecological balance. So wildlife sanctuaries and national parks, generally they tend to provide ecosystem services, they tend to maintain the ecological balance, and they tend to create the biodiversity aspect. So these particular aspects which are there, they generally tend to create the protecting aspects. And along with that, if you see the continuation of question, protecting these areas from habitat loss and fragmentation is crucial for long-term conservation of wildlife and the overall health of our planet. Examine this particular question. So this is what the question is. So in this particular regard, if you find out the keyword, obviously it is wildlife sanctuaries and national parks. So what shall be the approach for this particular answer is, in the introduction, try to write something related with national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Okay, so either you can write the factual information regarding with the national park and wildlife sanctuaries, or you can write the definition or difference between the national park and wildlife sanctuaries, or you can write the definition of protected areas, or you can write something related with in situ conservation methods. So this is what the introduction which we would be writing, either the facts, clear, so or either the aspect related with the protected area, or either the aspect related with in situ conservation method. Okay, so in this particular aspect, please make sure that national park and wildlife sanctuary as a keyword has to come into picture. Okay, so let's start writing the answer here. So here we are going to write the introduction. So here I am starting the introduction. Please write your own introduction and try to cross check. If you want to get a feedback of that particular introduction, please do copy paste that introduction and paste it in the comment section. Okay, so national parks and wildlife sanctuaries fall under the category of in situ conservation method. In situ conservation method of protecting biodiversity and continuation. In India, we have 104 national parks and 556 wildlife sanctuaries. Clear? If you want to extend the introduction, then also you can extend this particular introduction as such. Are you getting this point? See, while you are writing the facts, make sure that the facts are very closer to each other. So, like, despite of all the efforts put by the government under Wildlife Protection Act, creating national parks, and if you know some other facts, like in India, these national parks and wildlife sanctuaries, they cover 5% of total geographical area. See, these kind of facts are risk taking, but if you want to write, then if you know the fact entirely, then only you have to continue. Otherwise, you have to leave this particular fact. You should not focus on it. Done. So this is what the introduction is. So what we are going to write in the body. See, here I am writing introduction, body and conclusion. But while you write your answers in the UPSC mains examination, please don't write these subheadings of introduction, body and conclusion. Okay. So within the body, we are going to write what are the threats faced by national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. So please do write your answer writing along with me. Okay. So the first thing which comes into picture, so where threats which would be faced by national parks and wildlife sanctuaries is habitat loss. Habitat loss, either because of the anthropogenic event or because of the natural calamities. If there is a loss of habitat, habitat refers to the physical address of an organism where it lives. Like generally the wildlife, the major fauna lives in grasslands. The predators, most of the high predators, they generally live in grasslands. The reason behind it is so to have an easy hunting over there. Okay. So threats faced by national parks mein first aayega habitat loss. And second one which comes into picture is man-animal conflict. So when we would be having man-animal conflict is when either most number of times, 90% of the cases, when the forests would be converted or transformed into the settlement areas. So when man enters into the forest and clears the forest for the settlement pattern to be developed, so these animals in that particular forest area, they will find no choice on that particular area, or they will find no area to live. So they generally tend to come and have a conflict with man. So this man-animal conflicts in the recent phenomena, they have created huge amount of havoc situations, either disturbing the man's life or disturbing the animal's regular life. Okay. So this is one particular aspect of threat. Second is infrastructure construction through protected areas. Like example, some national highways passes through different national parks. For example, National Highway 44 passes through this Pench and Kanha National Park, Pench Tiger Reserve and Kanha National Park. So whenever we have created our comfort zones by building up with the infrastructure, see, progress leads to the infrastructure development. So these infrastructure developments wherever we have done, they have disturbed these particular national parks and wildlife sanctuaries and the entire protected areas. So in this regard, whenever we have to construct such kind of roads from national parks and wildlife sanctuaries, we have to have the environmental clearance. So due to this particular aspect itself, there is a concept which is created, that is eco bridges. Once you cross check what is eco bridge, and on that basis you will be understanding, so that there won't be disturbance created in that particular protected area despite of any infrastructure, exclusively roads when they are created. So this is one particular reason. And the next reason is poor conservation infrastructure. So in India, in every arena, in every field, we have infrastructural bottlenecks. In this regard also, we have this particular poor conservation infrastructure, either the manpower, either the front force power, either the fencing area which would be dropped, either the predator pre-relation when it would be made. So that conservation which generally happens, entire poor conservation methods we would be following because of the poor conservation infrastructures which we have. So this is one particular reason. And the next reason which we can comment is human interference. Either because of the mining activity, or because of the resource utilization, or because of the collection of the forest products. So nowadays people have this fantasy of using more and more amount of forest products. Forest products have got huge amount of demand. So in that particular scenario, when there is human interference with this particular national park and wildlife sanctuaries, then we would be having a threat which would be faced by them. So in general, if you would calculate, in the national park as such, no economic activities are allowed. Complete area would be under the fencing. But in wildlife sanctuaries, under certain regulations, certain economic activities would be allowed for the local communities who are living over there. That shall be the main difference between national park and wildlife sanctuary. Simply within the wildlife sanctuary, only wildlife would be focused, and in the national park, entire ecosystem along with the wildlife, flora, fauna, entire pond ecosystem, lake ecosystem, water body, soils present in it, everything would be covered and protected. So according to me, these are the 5 major reasons which generally would be disturbing this particular national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. However, global warming and climate change is disturbing the entire earth. If you want to add up a point, global warming and climate change is also one of the reason which is a threat to this particular national park and wildlife sanctuaries. But out of the 100 answer sheets, in more than 95 sheets, you will be finding this particular point as a threat which would be faced by national park and wildlife sanctuaries. So my sincere advice is, whenever you write a point, that point has to be unique. Make sure that your unique point faces huge amount of applause from the examiner, so that you would be getting extra mark. So here you are suggesting what is the need of hour or way forward. First one, eco-developmental projects have to be developed. Eco-developmental projects have to be developed. So this is first way forward method which we generally has to follow. And one more point which you can write is involving the local communities. In decision making. Involving local communities in decision making. This is one point which we can add up, so that when the local communities would be involved, it would be giving more and more best outcome. Clear? So either related with the protection. See, every time it is not from the administration or management side we have to follow the thing, but involving the local communities in the decision making will give the best outcome to come. Not only in this aspect, in any aspect, involving the local community has to be the primary thing. Okay. And as I have already said, that committee recommendations can be added up in the body, or committee recommendations can be written in the conclusions. So certain committees like Gadgil Committee and Kasturi Rangan Committee. Recommendations have to be implemented. Generally, when any committee makes the recommendation, reaching up to the implementation process, out of the 10 recommendations if they would be making, only 4 or 5 would be in its original state, rest 5 would be in the modified state according to the situation, and politico pro beneficio, that means according to the political vote bank nature, generally executives tend to change up those particular recommendations, but implementing the original recommendations given by this particular committee gives the best cup of tea. Next one is patrolling and wildlife trafficking, like wildlife monitoring. Wildlife monitoring on scientific basis. On scientific basis has to be done. So here comes the monitoring of the tigers on the basis of M stripes. On basis of M stripes. So once go and cross check this particular M stripes. Already UPSC has asked a question. So on that basis, if we would be monitoring, it would be very much effective. Earlier, to monitor these particular tigers, we used to use the pug mark method. But later on, it got shifted to the GPS methods. So on the basis of scientific approach, if we would be doing, that would be more effective as such. Okay. So what can more be done? Along with that, if you see, again, involving local communities. Local communities. In the protecting aspect of these particular national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. Clear? Whereby, especially in this local communities, youth has to be involved and they have to be trained, and these trained youth who would be there, they shall be trained in that particular regard, in the skilled aspect, so that they can help in monitoring the wildlife. So involving the local communities is also one particular aspect which has to be present. Okay. So this is the body of part which we have to write, and you have to elaborate while writing. See, it is very simple. Like if they are asking 150 word, no need to elaborate. If they are asking somewhere around 200 word, elaborate. This is the only task which you have in front of you. Now comes the conclusion. So what is the best optimistic conclusion which you can write? Think. So if you want to cross check your conclusion, so make sure that you just copy paste that particular conclusion which you have just typed in a mobile, and you can just drop it in the comment section so that we would be giving you valuable feedbacks. And in conclusion, we can write like protecting wildlife sanctuaries and national parks will make the protection of species in their habitats which further helps in maintaining and tackling climate change issues. Tackling climate change issues. And you can also write more effective implementation of policies and stringent punishment can better protect national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. So this is how here you should not criticize any governmental aspect, like say government is not following these particular procedures and all. Your conclusion should be optimistic in nature. Okay. So, and as I always say, it's not just an encouraging word which I would be saying. I will say that you can write more better conclusions and introductions than me. Introductions and conclusions are very important for balancing the answer and to get at least 50 to 60% of the mark from the examiner. So make sure that if you want to cross check, either you can write that particular intro or conclusion or any particular point within your answer, you can just drop it in the comment section so that we would be seeing you and we would be replying to that particular aspect. Done. Hence, this is up with this particular answer from the environment section today. We would be coming up with more and more answers in the further lectures. Thank you for watching this. Have an awesome day. Jai Hind.